Good morning and welcome to Korea Today live from Seoul.
It's now Seoul's turn to think it over. The South Korean government is still mulling over Pyongyang's proposal to discuss possibly resuming the stalled tours to Mount Kumgang in North Korea.
Former military dictator Chun Doo-hwan's brother-in-law has been arrested and detained. We have more coming up in the headlines.
A call to change the venue for inter-Korean family reunions. More coming up on In Print.
Not only are they practical and sleek in looks, but they're also very affordable. We take a look at a lineup of unique and creative home electronic products made by small and medium-sized companies. More coming up in just a little bit.
And in search of their roots of heritage, 40 Korean descendants from Mexico and Cuba visit the motherland of their ancestors to learn about the history and culture. And it may seem like the common flu, but neglecting the early symptoms could bring on a full breakout of shingles. We look at the painful skin rash and how to treat it on Tuesday, August 20th, 2013.
From Arirang News, this is Korea Today.
Good to have you with us on Korea Today on this Tuesday morning.
And happy Tuesday morning to you all. Now, yesterday, South Korea and the United States kicked off the 12-day Ulchi Freedom Guardian military drills. And with that, a meeting was held in the National Security Council, a meeting that was held at Cheongadae's crisis room. President Park Geun-hye, she cautioned against putting Korea's guards down against any possible provocations from Pyongyang.
That's right. She said, looking back at inter-Korean relations so far, trust has often collapsed, not because there are no promises, but because those promises were not kept. So you can feel a bit of caution there. But so far, no word from Pyongyang as far regarding the annual military exercises. A sharp contrast to its past belligerence surrounding this occasion.
That's right. Usually something is said, and it's not usually in the best words possible. Experts point out that this time it could be a continuing sign of thawing inter-Korean relations, and that Pyongyang does not want to put any kind of a damper this time on the reconciliatory mood and the atmosphere.
All right, we'll leave that there and go to our headlines with Na Hyang-kyung.
Former president and military dictator Chun Doo-hwan's brother-in-law Lee Chang-seok was detained late Monday night after the Seoul Central District Court issued an arrest warrant. He's the first person to be locked up under the prosecution's probe into finding and collecting the former president's assets. He's accused of evading tens of millions of dollars in taxes while making a property transaction and distributing the illegally obtained money to the former dictator's adult children. With his arrest, insiders say Chun's second eldest son, Chun Jae-yong, could be summoned by prosecutors for questioning sometime this week. In 1997, the Supreme Court ordered Chun to pay close to $200 million in fines for staging a coup and accepting bribes. He has since paid about $50 million back, saying he was too broke to make further payments. A flurry of conflicting testimonies were thrown back and forth during the second hearing on the continuing parliamentary probe into the nation's spy agency. During Monday's session, former Suseok Police Chief Investigator said, last year when the Suseok Police Station was looking into whether the National Intelligence Service had meddled in the presidential race, she definitely felt the pressure to minimize the investigation.
The former Seoul Police Agency chief personally called and gave orders not to request for a search and seizure warrant, saying it's not right to file for one when it's an internal investigation.
But the former intelligence agent suspected of posting slanderous online messages about opposition presidential candidates before the December election denied the accusations against her.
I never received orders to meddle in the presidential election. I only did my duties to respond to North Korea's propaganda online.
The bipartisan probe, which kicked off early last month, now has only 3 days left until the investigation deadline. The South Korean government has yet to get back to North Korea on whether the two sides will hold talks on reopening the inter-Korean tourism project at Mount Kumgang. Now on Monday, Seoul said talks on holding reunions for families divided by the Korean War should be dealt with separately from the possible talks on the Mount Kumgang project.
The government will determine its stance after reviewing the overall situation, and then we will announce it to the public.
This comes after Pyongyang, while agreeing to hold talks on the reunions, suggested holding another meeting on the Mount Kumgang project, which has been shuttered since 2008 after a South Korean tourist was shot dead by a North Korean guard. The two Koreas have yet to decide the location for the reunion dialogue as well. Seoul insists on holding the meeting at the truce village of Panmunjom. Pyongyang says the two should meet at Mount Kumgang. The first in a series of UN special hearings on North Korea's human rights violations will kick off in Seoul on Tuesday. Former Australian judge Michael Kirby is heading the three-member UN Commission of Inquiry and is tasked with examining Pyongyang's record on human rights. The commission will hold hearings for 5 days at Yonsei University, where some 30 witnesses and people for reference are expected to testify about North Korea's human rights violations, including torture and arbitrary detention. The panel's findings will be presented at the UN General Assembly in New York in October. A final report will be submitted to the UN Human Rights Council next March.
Good morning, everyone. Spinning off of what Hyung-kyung mentioned just now, today we are first going to delve into the details of the parliamentary probe into the nation's spy agency. Now with that, let's first take a look at our first newspaper, 경향신문. This is a photo from the second parliamentary hearing yesterday where a probe into whether the state spy agency was involved in meddling with last year's presidential election was held. These are three of the witnesses who were summoned, and as you can see, a white screen was set up to protect their identities. Now the headline above reads, Kwon Eun-hee, Kim Yong-pan's testimony on his phone call of encouragement, a lie. Announcement of investigation with intention to meddle with presidential election. Kwon Eun-hee was the then chief investigator at Seoul's Susa police station who led the probe on whether the National Intelligence Service conducted an online campaign to sway public opinion in favor of the ruling party ahead of the presidential election. Now, the paper says at the hearing on Monday, she called what Kim Yong-pan, the former Seoul Police Agency's chief, testified at the first hearing last Friday, a lie. Kim had said he made a phone call back on December 12th, a week before the presidential election, to give her words of encouragement in regards to the investigation. As you heard earlier in the headlines, then Chief Investigator Kwon denied his claims, saying that he had actually asked her not to issue a search and seizure warrant for the residence of the intelligence agent who was accused of posting political comments to sway public opinion. She also went on to say, according to the paper, that the investigation results saying the spy agency was not involved in posting political comments in favor of the ruling party was misused to affect the pending presidential election. Now let's go on over to our next daily, 중앙일보. Again, you see photos here from yesterday's hearing. Now the caption under it says, the rival parties argued for 2 hours about to what degree the bodies of the witnesses should be exposed. The opposition Democratic Party argued that hiding their whole body could potentially allow the witnesses to fabricate their testimonies. So as you can see here, the two parties finally agreed to raise the screen by 30 centimeters. Now, shifting gears a bit, let's take a look at the story right under. The headline here reads, Reunion of separated families should revive Seoul-Pyongyang location swap method. The paper says with North Korea having agreed to hold reunions for families separated by the Korean War during the Chuseok holiday on September 19th, it's time to change the location where the family reunions take place. The paper notes that since 2002, the venue for reunions has always been at Mount Kumgang in North Korea. Given the long travel hours and the uncomfortable lodging facilities, this location has been quite problematic for the elders, the paper says. It goes on to say that there are more voices demanding change to allow for unions to be held in Seoul and Pyongyang, a method that was carried out in the year 2000. The Unification Ministry's position for now on this, however, is that the reunions in the North has become an established practice, that it would not be easy to relocate a reunion center that the South has already built in the North. Now let's go on over to 동아일보 and take a look at this article right here. The headline here reads, ex-President Chun's brother-in-law suspected of managing slush funds arrested. Now, Chun's brother-in-law Lee Chang-seok is accused of managing the suspected hidden assets of the former President Chun Doo-hwan's family. But he was arrested for allegedly evading taxes worth of 13 billion won, or roughly $11 million when he sold properties in Osan, Gyeonggi at a much lower price. The paper notes that Lee is Chun's first family member to be arrested in prison since the probe began last month. Finally, going to our business paper today, let's look at the headline here on the right. It reads, must dramatically increase tax breaks for monthly renters. In Korea, you can either pay monthly rent or do what's called 전세, which allows home seekers to pay a lump sum of deposit money instead of paying monthly rent. Now, if you take a look at the graph right here, it shows how prices of 전세 have been on the rise, reaching a new peak in July this year. Now, the paper says there's a need to shift the demand from 전세 to monthly rent by providing more income tax breaks for the monthly renters. When looking at apartments in Seoul, those who are paying monthly rent in a span of 2 years were found to be paying an average of 9.7 million more, or roughly $8,000 more than when they were doing 전세. The Daily says the housing system may improve soon, especially now with President Park Geun-hye's push for measures to curb soaring home rental prices. President Park, during a cabinet meeting yesterday, expressed hope that the government will take active measures with the ruling party to deal with the soaring housing prices. Now, we'll leave it at that for your look on today's In Print. And next up are your closing numbers from Monday's market action.
Over in Milyang in South Gyeongsang Province, it was the hottest day in 40 years yesterday.
Well, I thought Tommy said that we were going to get a break from this heat wave.
She lied.
Let's check the
it's hard
weather
to predict
conditions.
the weather these days.
No,
right?
it definitely is, and they're saying that this is like the longest that this heat wave has continued through in quite some time. For more, we have Idami joining us. Good morning, Tommy.
Good morning, Dami.
Good morning, everyone. Today I'm reporting live from Mapo, and yes, the weather is definitely very unpredictable these days. Here in Seoul, as a matter of fact, heat wave advisories have been issued once again. So our daytime highs are going to be quite hot in the first half of this week, but the Weather Center is saying that we are expecting cooler conditions in the latter half. So hang in there for just a couple more days and try to keep yourselves cool in these conditions. Currently, this morning temperatures are at 24 degrees Celsius. It is a bit cooler than yesterday as humidity levels are slightly lower. We will be seeing mostly clear conditions throughout the day. However, down in the southern areas or the southern provinces, there are signs of pop-up showers later in the afternoon or early evening. Let's go ahead and take a look at the weather around the peninsula. Now here in Seoul, Daejeon and Daegu highs will rise to 33. Gangneung will look the coolest at 29, whereas Gwangju will be the hottest at 36. And Jeju Island at 34 degrees. Now, as for tomorrow, Seoul will have clear conditions with passing clouds. That's all I have for the weather forecast. I'll be back in the latter half.
Now, recently, the Ministry of Education announced measures to consider making Korean history a mandatory subject in the Sunung, or the college entrance exam. Now, this is a consideration, and the reason for that is to make sure that students have a better knowledge and a greater knowledge of Korean history.
And some have welcomed this news, while this announcement was also met with some strong opposition. So the government is back to the drawing board, and the final decision will be made tomorrow. But let's go ahead and look at what proponents and opponents have to say about this issue. Seoul's Ministry of Education last Monday announced its plans to enhance Korean history education.
We will link Korean history to the college entrance exam as a test subject. But in terms of how, we will gather the public's opinion based on what has been discussed so far.
To that end, measures to make Korean history a mandatory test subject have surfaced. Currently, Korean history is a compulsive subject taught in most schools. But in 2005, the subject became an elective on the country's college entrance exam, and the number of students taking Korean history tests has plunged from 27% to 7% over the past 8 years.
I've heard students misread words such as the March 1st movement and call it the 3.1 day, or call the Yasukuni shrine the Yasukuni gentleman, because they don't understand what it is. I was dumbfounded at first, but there actually are a lot of students who don't know the basics.
If things go this way, I'm worried that the next generation will lose the Tokdo Islets, the history of King Gwanggaeto, let the culture fade out, and watch history being distorted.
But will making it a mandatory test subject help enhance their understanding? Some disagree.
Under this current education paradigm, students can't help but compete. I understand the meaning behind increasing test subjects, but the main question is, will this help improve the understanding students have towards history? We also need to seriously think about whether this will have any negative effects. Making it a compulsory subject, I think, will actually make people want to stay away from it and make it a burden for many. Rather than really thinking about history and studying it, it will make students pick and choose what they need in order to get good scores.
Opinions vary even among students and teachers. While they agree on the need to boost history education, on how it should be done is a different story. Amid this heated debate, those who want to make the subject compulsory on the tests have come together.
한국사를 위해 서명 부탁드리겠습니다. 한국 역사를 수능에서 필수로 하고자 하는 서명동입니다.
Students need to get education on the fundamentals continually. Starting in 2005, students did a concentrated course on Korean history, where they learned everything over one semester. Because of that, during other times, they would not be interested in the subject. To build a strong foundation for history in this country, we need to make it a mandatory test subject on the college entrance exam.
They are campaigning for 1 million signatures to reinstate the subject on the college entrance exam, and they say including it in the test will make the students live and breathe history.
Considering the desperate need for this and the current system where it's difficult for students to learn about history unless it's related to the college entrance exam, it's hard for students to fully embrace an understanding of history. That's why the reality is they don't know even the basic facts. The most effective and realistic solution is to include it on the exam.
But there is also strong opposition to this measure. Opponents say test preparation will overwhelm the students, and some even speculate adding the subject on the test will lead to a further burden in private education.
If Korean history becomes a mandatory subject, the cost of private education will rise. The greatest problem of this is first and second the rise in private education costs. Third, we'll see more tutoring just for test prep, and this is all inevitable. So from the student's point of view, it's an extremely higher burden for studying, and I don't think it should be done.
If we want to implant a sense of understanding about Korean history, we should have them tour historic sites, visit museums, or have them discuss important historical issues. There are various ways for them to learn more about history. If it becomes a mandatory test subject, there will be no room to do such things.
With deeply divided opinions, the government is reviewing the issue from square one.
I think the ruling party should make its decision with more prudence, because the issue on how the subject of Korean history will be associated in the college entrance exam will be an issue of much interest to many parents.
In order to provide proper education on history, making the subject compulsory may be important, but it's also crucial to take the extra steps to ensure students have a better understanding of the past. So as of now, the move to make Korean history a mandatory test subject is now put on hold. But like I said before, the final decision will be out tomorrow. And if it becomes a compulsory subject, then it'll be implemented starting in 2017.
Well, some say that one of the problems that may cause the loss of interest in history is that many of the students, they tend to focus more on the subjects that are going to be on the college entrance exam, and thus this kind of takes away interest in the other fields and the other subjects. And also another that some experts point out is that there's too much of an emphasis on the college entrance exam than the grades, and maybe there needs to be some kind of a switch off there where we get the students more interested in the sub-subjects or the other subjects.
And as of yesterday, 100,000 people have participated in signing that petition campaign. And Professor Seokyung-deok, a Korea promotion specialist, said that a lot of overseas residents, especially in Japan and China, have actively taken part in that campaign.
Okay, so
means
a lot of,
something, right?
It does definitely mean something. History is an integral part of knowing where your roots are and where you come from, so it is very important indeed. It's 7:22 a.m. and still ahead, we'll be joined by Lee Tae-ho on a convention, and we'll be talking about some creative products that are spilling out from small and medium enterprises that are adding smart ideas to their electronics. The tech-savvy home appliances are gaining more attention overseas, so we take a look at some of the best in the markets this year.
The Overseas Koreans Foundation has invited a group of fourth-generation descendants of Koreans who emigrated to Mexico and Cuba for Heneken farming.
And this is given some of their ancestors, or actually given some of their kin, some of the opportunities to rediscover or discover their roots back here in Korea in the motherland. It was an 8-day tour, and we'll get a closer look at their journey.
At a hotel this month in Seoul, 30 Korean descendants from Mexico and 10 from Cuba came together to take part in a program for overseas Koreans.
I'm a Korean descendant and the head of the 21st Century Mexico-Korean Association, which has represented the 6 associations in Mexico and Cuba.
These Korean descendants have come in search of the historical and cultural roots of their motherland. The visit begins with a documentary on the 100 years of emigration history to Mexico.
These descendants will be able to understand more about Korea, and through this event, they will be able to feel proud about the country and also play roles as a leader in the Korean society in Mexico through programs such as these.
In May of 1905, 1,033 Koreans arrived at the port of Salina Cruz in southern Mexico. These were people who had signed up for jobs on farms mass-producing Heneken, which was used to make ropes for ships, after seeing job advertisements looking for migrant workers. But unlike the sweet promises of a comfortable and easy life, the reality was harsh, with unbearable working conditions. After their 4-year contract, the Korean workers finally dreamed of going back to their homeland. But the following year, Korea fell under Japan's colonial rule, leaving them without a home to return to. This is how the first generation of Mexican immigrants were left stranded in a foreign land. And 108 years later, the descendants of those Koreans are now, instead of their ancestors, visiting their motherland. Most are fourth-generation overseas Koreans, and they're here at Gyeongju's Bulguk Temple to learn about the country's history.
Sí, sí, claro, pero ¿qué tenemos que hacer con eso?
Tirarnos una foto.
Tirarnos una
foto enfrente. El grupo nuestro. Es una misión.
The participants learn about history while carrying out various tasks. Not only are they touring the site, they're experiencing history firsthand. They visit various spots around the temple and complete the missions given to them. It's an opportunity to see and experience the Korea that they've only heard about from their grandparents.
Before I came to Korea, I looked up things about Bulguk Temple, but seeing it in person like this, the colors and shapes are beautiful, and it seems like a beautiful legacy of my ancestors.
The next stop is Daejeon, and here the visitors met up with host families they stayed with for 2 days. This is Hwangbo Anji, the oldest participant in the program, who remembers her first-generation immigrant grandfather telling her stories about Korea. She always wanted to visit her grandfather's homeland, and the first place she goes to with her host family is a traditional market. As soon as she steps in, her eyes and hands get busy. It's the first time here, but the scenes here seem familiar from her grandfather's stories. She tries out some of the food and looks around the market. It's one of the experiences that she's always wanted to try. And in the evening, a special dinner full of Korean food is prepared by Hwangbo's host family, just for her.
우리 고유 불고기 한 곡.
불고기?
네, 불고기.
근데 여기 좀 아까 말한 거
백김치는 하얀 거.
그거는 저기라고 동그랑 땡 그냥. 동그랑 땡.
There's a special reason why Hwangbo decided to sign up for this program.
Korea is always beautiful, and I'm proud to be a Korean descendant. As I learn more about Korean culture, I think I'll be able to teach future descendants about Korea.
The Korean descendants also took part in a National Liberation Day ceremony to commemorate all the sacrifices the country's ancestors made to bring independence to Korea.
This is a very important day for Koreans and their descendants because it's the day when they were liberated from Japan's colonial rule. So it's significant to all Koreans across the world.
In the beginning, I didn't know Korean, so it was hard to sing the Korean national anthem. But I'm happy that I can sing it now because I've practiced my Korean.
The Korea that their forefathers, who shed tears and sweat on Mexico's Heneken farms, loved so much. These descendants say they feel proud to share the heritage of Korea.
I'm quite surprised that these young Korean Mexicans and Korean Cubans came all the way here to find their roots in Korea. And they know so little about Korea, but they came all the way to find out more and their roots here in Korea.
Yeah,
quite
I know.
interesting. And that was so cute how they did that, right? That's one of the signature moves in Korea. Right?
Yeah, loving, show a sign of love, right?
Right.
But they also made a stop at the Museum of Korean Immigration History in Incheon, and one of the participants actually spotted a photo of her mother's grandparents at the museum.
How
Isn't
bizarre.
that a surprise?
Right, it's that story, right?
I think that must be amazing. I mean, because obviously they don't know that much about their motherland or the mother country, and they come over here and really spot a picture of their grandparents. That's got to be an honor there.
Right.
Now, this is a learning program that's going to be held annually, so it's going to be a great opportunity for people from Mexico and Cuba of Korean descent to learn more about their roots.
Well, still ahead, actually, we're going to go to our Itami.
Okay, we're going to find out what she's going to be doing today on this Tuesday morning. Tommy, tell us what you're up to.
So I'm back reporting live from the streets of youth, Hongdae, located in Mapogu, Seoul. Now here at Hongdae you can find good food, lots of shopping that you can do, and great performances, a lot of things that you can do. So many foreigners find themselves here at Hongdae. Now I must admit, one thing that's a bit complicating here at Hongdae are the streets, especially when it comes to the back alleys. So I have this service this morning that I want to go ahead and show you. Right here, it's none other than the Mapo Tourist Information Car. Now, this service was open. It opened about a month ago on July 18th. They do run from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. and it's basically a service that helps you find directions and tells you about some of the performances going on at Hongdae. Now, I have my guitar here with me because I want to go ahead and maybe perform this morning at the Hongdae playground, but I don't know where it is, so let's go ahead and ask. Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm trying to find my way to the Hongdae playground. Can you help me with the directions? Okay, thanks.
You are here.
Okay.
And you are going here.
All right.
So first you go straight until you see Tourist Information Center.
Okay.
And turn left.
Uh-huh.
Go straight all the way up to Hong University.
All right.
And turn across the street.
Okay.
And it's right here.
All right. So basically, if we look at the map, it's very simple. Just we're right here. Go straight until the tourist information, take a left, go down, and then cross the street, and then there you go, that's the Hongdae playground. All right, so just like this, they provide information, and as you can see, they have languages in Japanese, English, and Chinese as well. They do, the Mapo Tourist Information Car usually does stay in the areas of Hongdae, but in the future, they are trying to branch out to other tourist venues. So the next time you come to Hongdae, why not make use of the Mapo Tourist Information Car? That's all I have. I'll see everyone tomorrow. I'm Idami, Korea Today.
The second World Electronics Brand Show has recently wrapped up here in Korea, having showcased cool gadgets from 150 companies, including tech giants and small and mid-sized companies. And our reporter Lee Tae-ho, as always, got to play with some of those cool gadgets.
I'm a lucky guy. Good morning, everybody. I get to play with all the really cool tech gadgets, right? So this week, I went to take a look at some of these products that were featured at the second annual World Electronics Brand Show. And what really got to me was a deodorizing smart hanger that really freshens up my clothes. And
you smell good today.
Exactly, right? Because it's so portable and compact. I don't want to give too much away right now, but it was a really interesting couple days to take a look at these products, because not only that, they had a really fun vacuum cleaner too, and it made me feel like I had my own personal robot cleaner, which it basically was. So I don't want to give too much away. Let's go ahead and take a look. The 2013 World Electronics Brand Show showed off some of the latest trends in daily home electronics. And this year, products from many small and medium-sized companies drew a lot of attention. From an air purifier that releases negative ions without a motor or filter, to a shoe storage container that can keep fungal bacteria or athlete's foot away, there were many products that put an emphasis on health and sanitation. Of these products, one was a device that sterilizes and removes odors from clothes. It comes in various colors and designs and boasts practicality as well. They say just by hanging your clothes on this smart hanger, you can reduce the level of bacteria in your clothes as well as the smell. Let's go ahead and check it out. The smart hanger uses a deodorizing liquid embedded in the hanger that transforms into gas and removes the odor particles within the fabric. This allows people to enjoy the freshness of the clothes without having to wash the clothes too often.
The front side of it draws in air, and this air takes in the volatile chemicals that then exit both arms, that circulate through the clothes and removes the bacteria living in the clothes.
To see how well the sterilization works, we sampled bacteria from the shirt and looked at the decrease in numbers after having the shirt hung up for 4 hours on the smart hanger. Before I hung up my shirt, the bacteria level was at 164. 4 hours later, 8 times less at only 19. This product is also foldable, so it has good mobility and it can also be recharged with a USB port. If used in the car, it can also help keep the air inside the vehicle clean. Not only that, products that combine near-field communication technology in the IT electronics field is another leading trend. A touch table PC that allows people at restaurants or cafes to place orders with it showcases this technology. To control the display screen, there's a computer installed right inside the table so you can surf the web or you can check your email. Also, there's a USB port so you can charge your smartphone or tablet as you sit here and wait. With this, you can play games or enjoy various video content while waiting for your food to keep yourself entertained. Not only that, the near-field communication enables customers to pay at the table.
For owners, they can reduce the number of employees in the store and save money on costs. And from the customer's point of view, they can save time and energy by taking care of everything at the table.
A robot vacuum cleaner with added practical functions also received much attention. Now this is called a motion handle remote control. It looks just like a car steering wheel. And with this, you can control your vacuum cleaner just like you were playing a video game. Not only does it have an auto clean function, it includes the world's first motion control function that allows users to change the direction of the robot cleaner with a remote control. In particular, it has a shadow mode, used for the first time in the world, that allows the robot vacuum to detect dark spots such as under the bed, couch, or other furniture and cleans more meticulously. With fresh ideas and practical functions, these products made by small and medium enterprises are being well received not only by consumers, but also from buyers overseas.
That is a cool hanger that we saw, but I've seen these smart wardrobe devices before. What sets this one apart?
Well, there is a product on the market that is a similar concept, but it comes in the form of a wardrobe or a really big dresser, right? So it takes up a lot of space, which makes it much more expensive. However, the smart hanger is much more compact and affordable. It's priced at about 100,000 won, which is roughly $90 US, and it's also much, so it's not too hard on the bank, right? And it also is
I meant the exact opposite.
Different paychecks we're talking about.
Well, I mean, considering the functions that it has, like on the hot summer days when you're sweating and you can't really get to the cleaners, you can take it into the office because you can fold it up and just plug it into your USB port. And you can even use it in your car to kind of freshen up your vehicle and your clothes inside there as well. And the vacuum cleaner was really interesting because a lot of times the robot vacuum cleaners, they miss spots, right? And so when that happens, you can simply pick up your remote control and steer it to spots that you want to clean. And it also comes equipped with a light sensor. So sometimes there are those really hard to reach dark areas, right? And what the light sensor does, it focuses in on cleaning dark areas and it stays in that area. Whenever it senses light, it doesn't move out and stays in that area. It's really cool.
So just like you know, it showed in the video. I mean, you can see that it's under the bed, which means that there's a lot more dust accumulating under the bed. So it focuses on those areas.
I would say the hanger is a long-term investment. Anyway.
Yeah, for your date, right?
You kind of know why you like it. You know, 164 on the bacteria scale. Ew.
People still have the tendency to buy home electronics from large companies. So these small and medium-sized companies, the reality is that they need to come up with a competitive edge, like these technologies.
You know, believe it or not, a lot of these small to medium-sized companies, when it comes to smaller home electronics, they're very competitive with the larger companies because they offer very creative product designs, and they're the best part, of course, affordability. Some of the products that they offer are robot moppers because, let's face it, we all hate manually mopping the floor, right? And they also have rice cookers with detachable covers, so it's much easier when you're serving and much easier to clean as well, too, right? And of course, the pricing. Much of the time, many of the time, the products are 20 to 30% more affordable, less expensive than products from larger companies.
But I think it doesn't get enough exposure. Many consumers, they usually do go with some of the bigger companies, and a lot of these products, they don't really get a chance to see. What can these small and medium-sized companies do to actually get their products out there?
You know, unfortunately, you're absolutely correct. A lot of these smaller and medium-sized companies, they don't get enough exposure. So what they need to do is break into the home shopping networks or internet shopping malls and really hold promotional events that are very interactive. So as a consumer, I can go out and I can really interact with the products that I'm going to buy and really be able to use it and see demonstrations, because let's face it, when we hold it and we see it and we use it, we can really be won over by the reliability. Also, brands, what they could do is offer extended warranties to consumers to really show that they back their product 100%. Just some ways to win over some consumers for these smaller sized companies.
Okay, so breaking into that market there for these small and medium-sized enterprises. Teo, thank you very much for that look.
Thank you for that interesting report. Can I now go to Still to Come?
Yes, now it's time for the Still Ahead.
All right, Still to Come on Korea Today. It comes with a headache and excruciating pain. I'm talking about shingles. If neglected, it can lead to loss of eyesight and other more serious conditions. We look at why people get shingles and how to prevent it, and you want to stay tuned for this.
And a good Tuesday morning to you all as we kick things off in the world of rhythmic gymnastics. Of course, South Korea's Sonyeonjae finishing off the final World Cup event of the season with a silver medal in hoop and a bronze in the ribbon event. Now has another big task. The World Rhythmic Gymnastics Championships taking place in Kyiv, Ukraine. It's been a rather successful season for Sonyeonjae, who's won a total of 7 medals in the 5 World Cup events this season, including 2 gold medals and a silver during the 2013 Asian Rhythmic Gymnastics Championships. But now with the World Championships taking place from September 14th to the 24th, it'll be her biggest task since the 2012 London Games. Now she'll be hoping to add another medal to her tally as she hopes to finish in the top 3 category, in the overall scoring. And speaking of September, manager Hong Myung-bo and the South Korean national football team will have a rather busy month of September as the Taeguk Warriors are scheduled for 2 friendlies. With manager Hong Myung-bo still looking to utilize his European players for the first time since taking over the team, he'll have 2 chances in doing so as a friendly against Haiti was added to their September schedule. The match between the 74th ranked Haiti will take place on September 6th. Meanwhile, South Korea will also face off against the 8th ranked Croatia on the 10th at the Jeonju World Cup Stadium. And moving on to the KBO, of course, no baseball on Monday night as usual. So let's take a look at the league standings so far this season. Of course, taking a look at the standings over here. First off, what a tight race this is, with Samsung barely holding on to their first place spot with LG right behind them, just trailing Samsung due to the number of games played. Meanwhile, the Tucson Bears have been red hot in the month of August, just 3 games behind the league leader, while Nexon still in 4th place, trailing Tucson by 3 games. And now taking a look at the bottom half of the league, Lotte remain in 5th place, just 2.5 games behind Nexon, with the red-hot SK Wyverns climbing up to 6th place, while the Kia Tigers continue to drop, now 7 games out of the playoff spot. Meanwhile, NC hoping to catch up to the Kia Tigers, with Hanwha being Hanwha at 9th place. And staying in the KBO, it's probably the hottest trend in the internet since a fellow by the name of Psy started singing about what Gangnam Style is all about. It's the first pitches in the KBO games, and it all started when Clara threw out the first pitch on May 3rd. Now, no one's really sure if she's a model or an actress or what exactly she does, but those pants did all the talking when she threw out the first pitch before the Tucson LG game. And that started the wave of interesting first pitches, but no one really received more hits on the internet than the former rhythmic gymnast Shin Soo-ji on July 5th as she does a back illusion before throwing a heater here. And of course, there was the more unusual first pitches. Ballerina Eun-won here, though I can't really describe what she actually did here, but nice stretch though, right? Anyways, finally, there was also Taekwondo actress Temi, who probably topped all the first pitches so far, this taking place this past weekend. Wow, very nice. Well, we can only imagine how much more fancy these first pitches will get in the future. And of course, finishing things off with some Monday's pro-amateur competition results as Korea University thrashed the KT Sonic Boom 74-53 with the Seoul SK Knights beating Incheon ET-Line Elephants 66-54 in the quarterfinals. And of course, later today, Kyunghee University faces off against the Ulsan Mobis Phoebus with Anyang KGC taking on Sangmu in the military team. Of course, that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day and see you guys again for your sports needs.
And there has recently been a 37% increase in patients being diagnosed with shingles, and medical experts attribute this to the continuing heat wave and also weakened immune systems from the heat.
That's right, but not a lot of people know about shingles, but here to tell us more is our Dr. Alice Hyung-Young-Dan from Samsung Medical Center. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Have you ever had chickenpox as a kid?
Yes.
I don't
hope so.
know.
We don't remember, but yes.
I actually did not, but we'll get into that later. Zoster or shingles is a potentially serious condition that usually shows up as a patch of blisters. It can be very painful in a band-like distribution on the skin. And this happens in people who've had chickenpox in the past or who've been vaccinated with a live varicella zoster vaccine. In early treatment of this condition is very important. So if you do treatment within the first 3 days, that can dramatically decrease the severity of symptoms. Otherwise, zosters can lead to excruciating pain and also potentially serious complications such as meningitis or blindness. Fortunately, there is a vaccine against shingles called Zostavax now.
Okay, well, apparently it comes with a lot of pain with a capital P. So let's go ahead and take a look at this report first before talking more about it.
Shingles is a skin rash that 20 to 30% of people in the world experience at least once in their lives. And recently, the number of patients are growing in Korea. Shingles breaks out in small strips of blisters, usually on the back, chest, or near the face, and causes immense pain.
It hurts so much that I can't even explain how bad it is. It feels like the world is coming to an end. It throbs, hurts, and stings.
Shingles occurs when the chickenpox virus that people had in their body as children wakes up. This happens when the immune system weakens and the disease breaks out in painful blisters. The number of people who have sought medical treatment from shingles has jumped by 37.4% over the past 5 years. This trend is especially true in the summertime, and last year in August there were 10,000 more patients compared to the annual average.
Because the summer is very hot, it's hard to get good sleep. Also, because of the high temperature and humidity, our immune system gets weaker. During the times, the virus that was dormant in the body wakes up and breaks out into shingle.
People in and over their 50s as well as women compared to men have higher onset rates. 4 to 5 days before the blisters appear, shingles causes pain, headaches, and fevers, which is why it is often confused with other illnesses.
You suddenly experience an odd sensation, pain and itch in a particular part of the body. If that shows up in the arms, people think it's a cervical disc problem in the neck. If you get it in the leg, people think it's a back problem.
By receiving antiviral treatment within the first 72 hours and alternating between neuralgial medicinal treatment and nerve treatment, you can prevent the after effects of shingles. If not treated early on, the virus can penetrate the menings and lead to encephalomyelitis. If it breaks out near the eyes, it can lead to iritis or corneaitis, which can cause loss of eyesight. If it breaks out near the bladder, it can progress into neurogenic bladder and also progress into neuralgia from shingles.
It usually takes about 1 month or so to completely treat shingles, but if it doesn't get cured even within a month, the nerve can get damaged and can lead to neuralgia. That's why it's important to receive appropriate treatment early on.
Neuralgia that comes with shingles can be cured by applying direct treatment to the spinal ganglion with medicinal syringes or nerve treatment. Also, by treating the sympathetic nerve, you can improve blood circulation and relieve the pain.
For those who are over the age of 50, there are vaccines, so there is less of the chance that you will get shingles if you get vaccinated.
It's crucial to strengthen the immune system through regular exercise and a balanced diet. When you experience odd symptoms in the body, it's essential to receive checkups so you can start treatment early on.
It looks really painful too.
It looks very painful, but the initial symptoms, it seems like it's not much different from the common flu or even a mild cold or a strong cold maybe. How can you differentiate whether you have a case of the shingles or if it's just the flu?
So shingles typically occurs unilaterally along the distribution of one nerve. So if you have this weird pain in your body, on one side of the body that has no apparent reason, in other words, there's been no trauma, no strain or injury in that area, that pain, which can sometimes precede even the blisters, can be the differentiating factor sometimes between shingles and other viral syndromes.
Is there a particular area in the body where you see it more often than other parts maybe?
So shingles can affect anywhere in the body from head to toe, but most commonly it affects the chest, back, down to the thighs. When shingles affects the face, as you saw in the video, it can be especially serious since involvement of the eye nerve can lead to blindness. If you have blisters on the ear and mouth, that can be associated with paralysis of the face. So getting treatment early on with antiviral medications would be especially important in these cases.
Right, so if that's the case, do you go see your dermatologist or do you go see your eye doctor?
So if you have shingles, you can see either your skin doctor, dermatologist, or an internist. But if shingles has affected the face, as you're asking, you should definitely see an eye doctor and an ear specialist as well. Treatment can include antiviral medications, but also pain medication is very important.
Okay, when we opened up this segment, you mentioned chickenpox, and I know there's some kind of a correlation there. Tell us about the correlation with chickenpox and also shingles.
Right, so the virus that causes chickenpox is also the same virus that causes shingles. So people who've had chickenpox in the past, they will have the virus sort of dormant or sleeping in the body. And shingles is actually a reactivation of that virus.
I see.
It's kind of like a cold sore. It just kind of hangs out in your body somewhere.
Exactly,
dormant,
yeah.
And you said you have an interesting story to tell us about your chickenpox and how...
Right. So relating to the immunity, so a person with shingles, you can't catch shingles from someone else, but someone with shingles can certainly pass on the virus to a non-immune person and cause them to have chickenpox. And so I didn't have chickenpox as a kid. I got chickenpox 2 months before I got married, actually, when a medical school dorm mate showed me his zoster rash on his belly. And I actually inhaled the viral particles and got chickenpox as an adult,
My question is, are you still friends with that person?
Did that put a damper on the wedding?
No, it was a minor aesthetic crisis, but I overcame it.
Just pushed right through, huh?
This is something I don't want to get. Are there ways to prevent it from I guess, catching it? Or
how do you prevent it if you are a carrier of shingles?
So if you have shingles, just trying to stay healthy, fit and healthy by eating a well-balanced diet, managing the stress in your life, also getting good night's sleep is probably the best way to keep shingles at bay. Otherwise, if you've not been vaccinated or you've never had chickenpox in the past, you should get 2 shots of the varicella vaccine. Also, if you are an adult, 50 years of age or older, you should get the Zostavax or shingles vaccine.
Okay, so there is a vaccine for
There
it.
is
get
a
that
vaccine,
shot
yes.
All right.
today.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you, doctor, for that. See you
You're
next
welcome.
week.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, that brings us to the end of this edition of Korea Today.
And we will see you back here tomorrow at 7 a.m.
Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow. Bye.